Daily Ticker Time on a Tuesday, brought to you as always by our wonderful friends at Pelican Brewing Company. It's brought to you by Pelican Brewing's Flock Party IPA, bold, balanced, and brewed for good company. It's the kind of beer that brings people together, whether it's game day, beach day, or just another reason to gather your flock. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. Can't wait to try that one. Joining us now is good friend of the program, Ryan Abraham, at Inside Troy. On Twitter, you can go give him a follow there. He is the man behind USCFootball.com, and the Trojans are in town this weekend. Ryan, good morning to you. We always look forward to USC and Oregon games. Before we preview this one, Let's turn the clock back to last week. I mean, that first half was as ugly as you could expect for USC, and then they kind of get going. They find a way to win. Lincoln Riley's like he won the Super Bowl on the sideline. Walk me behind just kind of what that win looked like and what it meant for Lincoln Riley at this point at USC.
Yeah, I think one of the narratives being USC is a soft team. They're not going to do well in the Big Ten, and they went to Illinois. It didn't look great. The Notre Dame game didn't look great. But when they played Michigan at home, a team that's definitely tough and, just won the national championship a couple of years ago, they played really well. And I think they've tried to do that. The road game against Nebraska, they had a nice comeback there. And against Iowa, like you mentioned, I mean, they couldn't get out of their own way in the first half and couldn't stop anything that Mark Gronowski, the Iowa quarterback, was doing. He caught a pass for a touchdown. He threw one, and he ran one in. But I think they gathered themselves. The weather was terrible. It was pouring down rain. We had this atmospheric river we never get in Los Angeles. So it was pretty nutty. And the fact that they were able to sort of rebound and play much better in the second half, shutting Iowa out, getting the offense going. Lincoln Riley called it a culture win. I think he's been fighting against some of the narrative that this isn't a really tough team. And they've showed some toughness in a couple of these games that they've won. So I think he was really excited about it. I think the players are really fired up. It was, a day that not a lot of stuff was going their way. The weather favored the visitors for sure, and they still found a way to get a win.
I know they beat Nebraska on the road, but there's a real thing, I think, for a lot of people up here. USC, especially if you're going to add some rain, and it might be raining by the time they played this game this weekend, on the road, just kind of a different beast. I'm curious, what do the message board masses feel when USC goes on the road against a quality or really good opponent right now under Lincoln?
Yeah, it wasn't great, certainly last year. I mean, they lost to Maryland. They lost to Minnesota. I mean, they couldn't get – they only road win in the Big Ten up until this year was at UCLA, and you take a bus. So that doesn't really count. But going to Purdue, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, at least they got a win there. They didn't play that well. They kicked a bunch of field goals and stuff. But at least it was a Big Ten road win where you crossed multiple time zones. And I think the Nebraska one showed a little more and had a real chance at Illinois, too, against a ranked squad. So I think they've played, a little bit better, showing some of the, what they can do on the road. But it's definitely been a struggle trying to get things going. But as far as weather goes, like they've been in a lightning delay. They've had several rain games already. It's been a really weird year as far as weather. They might have played more weather than Oregon this year. I'm not sure, but it's kind of weird that, I know Oregon was in that torrential downpour against Iowa, but yeah, USC's had a whole lot of weather delays and weather issues going on. So they might be used to that if there's rain in Oregon, which normally in a situation they haven't played it in years, and they've had several games this year where they've had a lot of rain.
Yeah, we have one of those weird games you turn on, you're like, L.A., it's a monsoon down there? What is happening in Los Angeles right now? I had a hard time, is this game in Iowa? Did it get relocated? Did they paint the field a different color? We're talking with Ryan Abraham at Inside Troy on Twitter, USCFootball.com. The Trojans are in town this weekend, and I will note I will be in Eugene on Saturday, so I track the weather every 4 hours. I'm getting an updated forecast on this thing. It looks like as of right now it's going to be dry on Saturday, but we still got a long ways to go before the game officially kicks off. We mentioned the feeling of winning and trying to get that culture back on track and establish that we can play Big Ten football. This one is not a multiple time zone travel. As you mentioned, you're not going to South Bend, Indiana, or out to Michigan or Penn State. You're just flying up the coast, but it's a very difficult place to come out and play, and USC has had their struggles on the road. What is the reaction, win and loss, from USC fan this weekend? Like, what would a win mean for Lincoln Riley, and is every noise done? And what does a loss, if it goes the way some people think it will, and it's similar maybe to the Notre Dame game, what's the reaction that way?
Yeah, I think this is for USC. There's a lot of upside there. I mean, there's two schools that recruit a lot of the same 4 or 5 star talent. So I think the recruiting aspect is always there. Dan Lanning's going to be fired up for this. He wants to recruit Southern California. You want to beat USC for sure. But I think for USC, like, hey, if you win this game, all you got to do is beat a not that great UCLA team, and you're probably in the college football playoff. for Oregon, they could lose this game and still make the college football playoff. But I feel like it's one of those situations that if you lose, it's sort of expected. Like they were expected to lose at Notre Dame, they did. They were expected to lose at a ranked Illinois team, and they did. But all the other games they've won, and to be 6-1, in Big Ten play and 8-2 overall, I think is a little bit ahead of where people maybe expected this team that was 6-6 last year and couldn't put together, a road win in the Big Ten. So I think there's a lot of upside there. But it's also important that you have to play well because we've seen Oregon just boat race teams. It happens. It can happen any given week. There's some weeks that I think Oregon's played with their food a little bit and, they haven't done it. But then there's other weeks where everything's clicking. And I think this is a game, if you're Dan Lanning, you want everything to be clicking and put a show on and let people know, hey, you're a five-star recruit in modern day. You want to come to Oregon. You don't want to go to USC. So I think it's important to at least play well. If they lose the game and it's close, I think you can sort of be like, all right, you have a 9-3 season after 6-6 would be, pretty. I think you'd feel pretty good about it. But there's a lot of upside there if you're able to go in and shock the world and get an upset as a potentially double-digit underdog. So I like that. I think it's gonna be a really tough one, but it's more important I think to keep this one close and just be in there. And if you can get the win, it's sort of like icing on top of your cake.
Sidestepping kind of the game for a quick second. I wanted to get you on for a couple of weeks, but we wanted to make sure it was for this specific game. Since we had you on last, we had Josh Pate on. He's a friend of our program, and he had thrown out kind of in the ether, and I know people have talked, but I'm curious just what you have made of the noise of random, hey, watch Lincoln Riley and USC stuff. I don't really know what that is. Pate was kind of vague, but I'm curious, you cover the program, what you've made of the noise of Lincoln Riley and kind of what that generally means. Is he going to leave? Is he somebody to keep an eye on? What have you made of it?
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation because the contract he has is so pro Lincoln Riley. He's in, year 4 or whatever, and it's like $11 million a year, fully guaranteed. Like, it's not good for USC, especially the way they've been playing. Now, if they can make runs to the playoffs and things like that, then it becomes a lot more, worth it. And I would think it'd be weird for him to sort of shop around, but I think it's a situation if he felt like he couldn't win in LA, then maybe you would look somewhere else. But I think the situations, if you were to go to any of the SEC schools, that's going to be a lot more difficult. USC has like the number 1 recruiting class coming in. I think it would be an easier path to the playoffs in the Big Ten than a place like Florida or LSU. That just seemed, it just didn't pass the smell test for me. But agents are always out there putting their clients out there, and I you haven't. Lincoln Riley signed that huge deal. It's almost like Nico Iamaleava, whatever, that was at Tennessee, signed this crazy NIL deal, and then saw like Carson Beck get $4 million. Like, hey, I got 2.5. I want to get more. And you're like, you're already overpaid for where you are. Like, if I'm USC, I'm like, Lincoln Riley, you're already overpaid. You should be happy with what you're doing. If you want something more, then go ahead. We'll get somebody else. So, that's sort of my take on the thing. It just doesn't seem like that would be the best for him as far as chance to win. And USC, I don't know if they would be all like that upset if you get out of that contract and Genco and the AD could go in a different direction. So it's a weird one. My guess is he's going to stick around, but there's definitely been some smoke out there.
Interesting. The only game-related question I have for you, when you look at the matchup, it feels like good on good is USC's offense versus Oregon's defense. Like the metrics back it up. USC's offense is dynamic, and their wide receivers are great. They're running the ball at a high level this year. We know how talented they are on that side. Oregon's defense, a lot of metrics and numbers point to them being one of the best defenses in the country, although this will be probably the best offense that they faced all year. The biggest thing for me, and I don't know if you agree with this, that the game comes down to is the other matchup. And I'm just curious to ask you, where is USC's defense at right now? Where's the confidence in that group? How healthy are they? Because I know USC is going to be able to move it and put up points. I just question, will they be able to get consistent stops? Where's the thought on USC's defense, and where are they at health-wise going into the game?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one because USC's offense is elite, and we've seen, Oregon's defense play that way as well. It's, a lot of times USC's offense is going to be the best unit on the field, and then you sort of have to figure everything else out. But the concern I would have on the USC side would be, what are you going to do, especially with Oregon's run game? We saw Notre Dame run for over 300 yards against USC. I kind of make these games, they're sort of similar in my mind, where the spread was 9.5 going up to 10, maybe 10. Who knows where it'll be, but that's similar to what it was. And Notre Dame was able to pass the ball effectively, but really running the football. They just had their way. And I think USC could be out their top two safeties. They both left the Iowa game, Kamari Ramsey and Bishop Fitzgerald, and we don't know the status of them yet. The defense actually played well after they went out, but I think that's a tall task. Those are two leaders on the team. Bishop Fitzgerald, one of the top. He has 5 interceptions on the season, and Kamari Ramsey's he's like a coach on the field for Danton Lynn, the defensive coordinator. So without those two guys, I think it would be some trouble. I think just overall, the linebackers have started to play a little bit better, but they just haven't been up to snuff where you just need to be able to help shut the run games down. I mean, they just were running themselves out of plays against Notre Dame when you saw that. And even the first half, the last couple of weeks, where they're giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards. Now, they've been really good adjusting and shutting things down in the second half. They've only given up 6 points in the second half of the last 3 games combined. But that's going to be a different playing the Oregon offense and how they can run the ball. I think that's going to be a little tougher task there. So I agree with you guys. That's going to be the matchup you need to watch. USC needs to figure out a way to slow down Oregon. I think they'll score, but are you going to be able to score at the rate that Oregon can if they just kind of dominate USC's defense that's struggled, especially against really good rushing offense?
Very quickly, Ryan, because we're against it here. I know you haven't been to every venue yet, or maybe you have in your life just as a football fan, but you've covered USC for a very long time. You've been to Autzen several times. Have you found so far very early in the Big Ten another venue that has matched for you Autzen in terms of energy and how much you've enjoyed kind of seeing the sights and the tailgate and all that?
Yeah, no, I think Autzen's way up there. I mean, I did the Big House last year, which it was something on the bucket list, but it's just so spread out. It wasn't the loudness, but I mean, it's cool, and I go to South Bend and Notre Dame is always great, but I haven't done like one of the Big Ten ones yet that, I did Ohio State like years and years ago, but as far as just like the atmosphere and how close everything is, it's really tough to match, what you get at Autzen. So I haven't been to all of them yet, but I've been to a bunch, and it's Autzen's still way up there for me.
It's going to be a fun one this weekend, 12:30. You can hear it right here on The Fan. It'll be on CBS on TV. Ryan Abraham is his name, at Inside Troy on Twitter, one of our favorites, USCFootball.com. Thanks as always for the time, man, previewing the game. Enjoy the time at Autzen this weekend, and we'll do this again soon, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
There you go. Ryan Abraham. Great stuff from him covering USC football.
He's as honest as it gets, man.
Oh, I love him.
You're already overpaid.
Yeah. I mean, that should be the reaction of like, yeah, you don't want to lose him, especially if he wins 9 games this year. That's a really good year for Lincoln Riley, trending in the right direction. It's interesting that in year 4, that's like, hey, all right, you still haven't been to a playoff, so you're kind of kicking that can a little bit down the road. But he's undoubtedly made progress in the right direction. But yeah, if he's coming to you asking for a pay raise,
well, you got my gears going because I said Penn State a couple weeks ago when that rumor came out, and now I'm like, well, he's a Texas-based guy.
He is. What if the Texas job opens up?
I mean,
what if Sark leaves for the NFL and the Texas job?
You can sell Texas fan. They saw him up close and personal. I don't know if they buy that he can win the
right
SEC.
Now, I don't
but
know.
yeah, but
2 thumbs up
to the point. He's familiar. He's got people down there.
I mean, that's kind of been one of the things Pate has hinted at, is just wait till all the other jobs open up and that there's more dominoes to fall. And so we'll see what they end up being.
Yeah.
But before we get to all of that, fun game on the line this weekend.